All right, so this is Noah from the Lewiston campus. I decided to go with Hurricane Katrina. This is actually my second time recording this. Kaltura wouldn't work for me, so I am forced to go with this. The audio hopefully will record this time. Also, the video probably will be downgraded because I'm trying to get this up before 4 o'clock. Lots of technical issues. So, sources, fake news, hopefully not so much. I did use the National Weather Service, which is a federally funded agency, as is NASA. I use them as well. So, basically, NASA helps to get those overhead shots of the storms that are coming in. And a lot of those are really nice to look at. I don't understand quite all of the pictures, but they are good. National Weather Service also is in charge of, finding the weather things, all the storms and such, and they were able to report on them before, after, and during. I also use the History Channel as a source. In the past, they've done historical fiction series. They have been criticized for airing things on aliens and UFOs. And a lot of the information that I found on this topic, I found in other places. So I decided that what they were reporting on was most likely true. I also used Live Science, which is a source that gets a lot of their stuff from news outlets like Fox. So on the topic of, again, of course, the Hurricane Katrina, I decided that they were pretty reputable. The American Journal of Nursing, I used this one a lot back when I was taking nursing classes. It's a really great peer-reviewed journal. Lots of case studies and future medications and everything like that. And it's referenced as legit stuff for doctors and nurses and everybody in the medical profession. I also used a letter written to the George Washington University. This university is a private research university, so also the letter was a first-hand encounter of the hurricane, so I decided that was probably okay. I also used a case study from the Journal of Molecular Psychiatry. This was a case study done to see how people reacted mentally to the hurricane. It was actually conducted 2 years after, and they found that a lot of people were struggling with the same stress, anxiety, PTSD, all those kinds of things 2 years later as they were when it happened, which is really crazy to think about the psychological effects of some of these disasters. I also looked up Kimberly Amadio, and the names, I don't know how to pronounce any of the names, so hopefully it's fine. She is actually a high-ranking business economy analysis, so I used what she had written as, for business and money damages and all that kind of stuff. She's certainly more of an expert than I am. I also used Jacob Vigdor, again, another economist. I really couldn't find a whole lot about him other than he was an economist. He's a writer for a peer-reviewed journal. I can't remember the name right now. And his stuff was a bit tricky for me to understand, but he had a lot of graphs and everything that were much easier to pull apart. And lastly, I used Do Something, which I think is a .org. And I was pretty skeptical about what they had because it was just like a fact sheet. But actually, a lot of the facts I found on there, I found in various other places, such as NASA's website. So I thought it was okay. This is a great picture. So the events, the hurricane, took place in August 2005 in the United States. As you can see, it started over the Bahamas and it moved northwest over the tip of Florida. And as it struck land there, it became a level 1 hurricane. It caused a lot of damages there, so you can understand that the damages that happened later on were severe. It continued west, so it started on the 23rd over the Bahamas, and it reached Florida on the 25th, and it reached New Orleans on the 28th and 29th, and continued north. But as you can see, it really picked up over the Gulf with those warm waters, and as it hit land, it died down a little bit. But it was a level 3 as it came in, so it devastating this whole area here. It killed 1,833 people, over $100 billion in damages. The speeds of of 140 plus. Wind speeds that were closer to the ground were about 100 miles an hour, which is absolutely insane. On the outer edges of this sprung a bunch of tornadoes and everything that also hit Florida, and as well as the outer edges of places of the storm in places like Alabama. Obviously, tons of rainfall. Levees were overflowing and collapsing, and as you can see, it traveled way up north. This is a great picture. I think, yeah, this is NASA, of the eye of the storm and the storm itself, before and after pictures. It's really crazy. New Orleans took the brunt of this, and as you can see, and their average elevation of land is 6 feet below sea level, so it was certainly an uphill battle for them, literally. The levees along the Mississippi River were secure enough. I mean, obviously, Mississippi River is a massive river. They definitely knew what they were doing when they built those. But other ones holding up lakes and swamps were not reliable, especially for this storm. And due to the raining and the flooding of those lakes and swamps, nearly 80% of New Orleans was underwater by the end of the storm. This is the Superdome Stadium that was designated the, last ditch, get out, stop. A lot of people took refuge here. People even broke into the Ernest Convention Center for shelter. But I mean, amongst all the chaos, it was really difficult to get out if you didn't get out before. Many of the lower income residents struggled with evacuation because a lot of them didn't even have transportation. Some people tried to walk, but were turned away from other cities at gunpoint. And this hurricane affected 90,000 miles of the United States. This is George Bush at the wreckage. He actually cut his vacation short by 2 days to help oversee recovery and everything, because it was such a mess for everybody involved and everybody trying to help and rescue teams and everything. Social media really exploded with this. They blamed local government. They blamed federal government, local government for not evacuating sooner. The mayor ordered a mandatory evacuation the day before it struck. He got a lot of crap for that, for not doing it sooner. They blame federal government for not having supplies and resources for such a storm. It was really, really crazy. Some people were actually forced to step down out of their positions, such as the director of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, as well as the New Orleans Police Department superintendent. Others resigned or stepped down on their own. The mayor, like I said, was scrutinized for not evacuating sooner. The United States House of Representatives investigated the preparedness, specifically of New Orleans, and titled the report "A Failure of Initiative," which is really crazy. I mean, the world has obviously learned from this and other disasters, so things are a lot better now, but weren't prepared for such things in 2005. This is Shiloh Groover. She is the individual that I focused on. She lived in Mississippi at the time, and she worked at a local TV station. Her and her coworkers actually decided to stay during the hurricane, and her story is a brief one about how they decided to stay to report on the hurricane and the news and everything for the people who didn't leave, the people who did leave and had family, whatever, homes and pets and everything else. They also stayed to report to the rest of the world, and I can see how staying would be a stupid idea because you're putting your life on the line, but also in retrospect, a lot of people didn't realize how tremendous this hurricane was on the outside looking in. So they stayed. They were able to seek shelter in their station in a concrete room. They grabbed their weathered laptops and they were reporting and trying to set up operations as the storm hit. Roof flew off, their equipment flying around, hundreds of thousands of pounds of stuff, debris flying in the air, whipping around. Something massive landed on the floor above them. Like, it's just really insane. And then she reports stepping out and, blue skies, not a cloud in sight, and it's just crazy to see that. And then also there's the smell of death and like decay on the wind. It killed so many people, and there was just, homes totally destroyed, apartment complexes on the ground, everything flooded. She reported seeing a group of people walking through the streets and helping people up, and uncovering people and doing their best to help the other survivors. And it's really crazy to think, somebody lived through that, and to see those things and to read about it firsthand. So in summary, I didn't know a lot about this topic, so I'm glad that I was able to research it. Almost 2,000 people died. Over 500,000 pets were lost, killed, or injured. It's really heartbreaking to read. It was challenging to understand some of the graphs and some of the articles that I read, but pictures and graphs and everything, like I said in that article, were able to help. But it's really crazy to think about how the water didn't even subside until almost a month later, and it's just crazy because in the wake of these horrific, monstrous events that completely destroy humans, we see humans banding together and doing the right thing, and putting their lives on the line to help people with search and rescue or reporting or whatever. And this brought together 70 countries who were able to donate to the recovery of New Orleans, and it looks like New Orleans is recovering. 10 years later, I saw reports of people, New Orleans still struggling, but almost 15 years later, people are coming back. They have tourism again. And it looks like they're coming back in stride, which is really great. So again, sorry for the issues. Like I said, I had to do this twice. The quality's probably going to be low because I'm trying to get this up quickly. And yeah, thank you for watching.